Alright, so I'm going to be showing how to replace the battery on this 15-inch MacBook Pro model A1990 2018 model. Alright, so first thing we're going to want to do, of course, is remove the screws from the bottom. So this is using a Pentalobe 1.2 or a P5 screwdriver. So we're going to remove the screws. There's two back here where the hinges are, and then there's four along the bottom. Alright, so just remove all those screws. Okay, to remove the cover, it helps to have a suction cup, but on this model, it's not necessary. I'll show you what I mean in a bit. Okay, and keep the screws in order because they are different size, shapes, and lengths. If you get them mixed up, you can damage the computer trying to put the wrong screw in the wrong spot. Alright. The way I keep them in order is the pattern I remove them in. I just put them in that layout on my desk, and that way I know exactly where each screw came from. Alright, so once we got all these screws out, what we're going to do, it makes it easier if you spin it around. Okay, give me a second, let me make sure the screws are all lined up properly. There we go. Alright, so spin the thing around, and what you want to do is we got to lift up this part of the case. So there's a gap here, which is an air vent. So what you can do, I don't know if you can see, but I can get my fingernail in there. You can use like a pry tool, and then after that it lifts this a little bit and you can get underneath here. So again, this is where if you don't have fingernails or pry tools, but you have a suction cup, you can even use tape. You can just put like two pieces of tape, like they'll stick two pieces together like this, and then have the rest kind of fold down, so that way it's kind of like sitting like this on the thing, and you can use that as a pull tab. So if you have a pull tab like this, you pull it, then you can get your fingernail or pry tools in underneath the cover. Then what you do, once you get under, you go down to the sides here, and then on the lip of the what do you call the palm rest, you push down and you pull up with your other fingers. Okay, so it helps. It's easier to do this with fingers than to do it with pry tools, but same thing, get under there and then you push down just like that, and there you go, the cover is loose like this. At the hinges there are little clips that kind of like go underneath this way, so you actually have to slide the cover down. Usually what you do is you grab hold of the cover and then you kind of push on the other side, the bottom here. Okay, on this side you push it to slide it down. If it doesn't move, like right now it's really difficult, the best way to do it, I like to get like a padding kind of thing. You can use like a towel or something. Get the laptop, put it like this, and then what you do is you grab the cover, pull this down, and then while you're doing that you can push down here, and then just keep your fingers wrapped over the top so that way the laptop won't fall over. Okay, so just like this, and you pull it while you kind of just like that. Okay, so once you pull it enough, it will pop down like that. You'll go to the other side. Usually once you get one side down, the other side's not as difficult. So just pull it just like that. Okay, there we go, and the cover comes out. All right, wow, this is really dusty inside, so I'm gonna clean this up first and then I will be back. All right, I'll see you guys in a bit. All right, so I'm back, cleaned up all the dust. You can see it's so much cleaner now. All right, and one thing I forgot to mention, of course, you want to make sure your MacBook is off. A lot of times customers hand it to me with their MacBook on, so let me make sure. And oh, it turns itself on, so never mind, it was off, but once you open the screen, I guess it turns itself on. Okay, I don't know what all these stickers are all over here for, but anyways, I'm gonna make sure to turn this off and we will be back. Okay, this is really dusty inside too, so I'm actually gonna clean this up as well. All right, and I will be back. All right, so just cleaned it up some. We're gonna close it up. Again, we are just gonna be replacing the battery. There's no upgradable SSD or RAM. Everything is soldered onto the board. If you need to see how to take out the board, I believe I have another video on that. If not, a lot of the 2016, 17, 2019 models are all the same. So if you can't find a video on that and you need that, just let me know. All right, so we're gonna remove this plastic cover here. Let me zoom in to make this a little bit easier to see. And also we're going to be replacing or removing the trackpad to make removing the battery less dangerous. We will have to, on this model, at the very minimum, lift up the logic board. So I'm going to be removing all the screws or the motherboard, and I'll show that. All right, but anyways, let's remove this plastic sheet first. Okay, there are little sticker pads holding it down, so just be careful when lifting it. Go slow. You don't want to just tear it off. Okay. All right, so here you can see there's the adhesive here that's kind of sticking to these. All right, so we'll set this aside. Okay, next we're going to disconnect this cable here. So I'm going to zoom in to make it easier to see as well. All right, so what you want to do, there's this little plastic flap here. You want to lift that up, and then you kind of want to peel it back a little bit. All right, so get underneath there, peel it back. There's a sticker or adhesive that holds it down, so I peeled that back. And then you just flip this latch here. Once you flip that latch, you can get underneath this cable and you can pull the cable out. You might have to wiggle it a little bit. All right, and there we go. And be careful with this. You will have to transfer this to the new battery. So if anything, let's actually peel that off now, and then we can transfer it over to the new battery. All right, so just get underneath this as well, peel back that plastic flap as well, and then flip up this little latch here. Sorry, I know it's probably difficult to see because my hands are in the way, but just get that plastic flap. Okay, flip that little latch up as well. All right, once you flip that latch, same thing. You want to get underneath the cable to the flat side. Don't try and pull from back behind this S curve, but get to the flat side of it and then just pull this cable out. Okay, and we are going to have to move this onto the new battery. I'm just going to set it aside for now. Okay, we're going to have to use a T5 or a Torx 5 screwdriver to remove the screw here, and this screw is what connects the battery to the motherboard. Well, this cable also, the cable also does that, but this screw, I think, is what supplies the actual power to the motherboard. So remove this screw, set it aside. All right, and then what you're going to want to do, because this metal flap is actually still connected to there, you're going to want to get underneath, and then you want to pry this up slightly, just so that it's no longer resting on top of this board. Okay, we're going to also have to remove these two little screws under here. Let me see, I can't see closely. Okay, I believe these are using like a, same as the iPhone, which is a Pentalobe 0.8 or a P2 screwdriver. All right, so we're going to remove those two screws as well. Okay, just like that. Set those aside, and again, keep track of all these screws because they are different size, shapes, and lengths. You don't want to mix them up. Okay, so once we got that, now this piece is loose here. Okay, and now we're going to disconnect the trackpad connector. But once you disconnect the battery, first thing you want to do is open up the computer. Okay, make sure it's not plugged in, of course, and then press and hold the power button for 10 to 15 seconds. All right, you do this to drain any power from the main board, and that will prevent damage to the inside if you are working on things. Sometimes if you move connectors, you could accidentally short something out. So leaving the MacBook open and pressing and holding the power button 10 to 15 seconds will drain power from the board and will greatly reduce the risk of damaging it when you're working on internal components. All right, so we're most likely going to need a T3 and a T5 screwdriver. So let me check here. We're going to get a T3 screwdriver first, or Torx 3. All right, and then we're going to go ahead and remove these screws holding this metal bracket in place. Okay, again, keep the screws in order because they are different size, shapes, and lengths. Okay, and then you can remove this metal plate that's on top. Once you remove that metal plate, I like to go from the corner edges here with my fingernails and then kind of just wiggle as I kind of pull it up. And this connector will just pop off the main board. All right, just like that. All right, let's zoom out a little bit. We're gonna now be removing the trackpad here. So the trackpad is held in with all these screws here and then here. I don't remember if this middle one is holding it down, but we're gonna remove all these screws along the sides and then these screws as well. Okay, so I believe those are using a T5, so switch back to the Torx 5 or T5 screwdriver. Okay, And then let's remove all these screws. Again, you do want to keep the screws in order because they can be different size, shape, and lengths. I keep emphasizing it because it's very important. All right. Okay, so we'll remove all these screws. All right. And when you take out all these screws, you want to make sure not to flip the MacBook over. I'll show you why once I get the trackpad out. Okay. This might end up being a pretty complicated repair, mainly because they tuck the battery connector underneath the motherboard or the logic board. So you'll see in a bit. All right, so we got all of those. We're going to remove these two. For now, I'll leave the middle one and then check and see if that cable or if that screw needs to be removed. I think it might, but we'll see. Actually, I think I might have to take it out anyway, so we're just going to take it out. Yep. All right, so now we got all the trackpad screws out. Okay, what you're going to do, because there's an adhesive holding this down, we're going to peel this cable up, but you don't want to just pull straight up on it because it will crease this and you can damage the cable that way. So what I do is I pull it this way as I'm kind of pulling it up, and I try and stay as close to where the adhesive is to do this. Okay, so just like this, mostly pulling back away and up at the same time, and that helps keep the cable more flat. And then when you get close to the end, you kind of want to keep your finger down here so that way if it suddenly releases, it's not going to just yank the cable out. So just like that. Okay, there we go. So now we got the cable out. Here you can see this is the adhesive. We actually want to transfer the adhesive over to the trackpad. Usually it doesn't stick to the battery, so it's kind of weird that this time it's stuck to the battery and not to the trackpad cable. But anyways, we're going to peel that up. If it sticks to itself and can't be reused, you could always just get any double stick tape and then put that on there, so don't worry too much about this tape. Okay, but I try to keep everything original as possible, so I try to reuse all the adhesive and stuff that they had on there. Okay, so I'm gonna put that there, peel this up. All right, and then we're just gonna stick this back down on here. Oops, keeps wanting to curl over. Stop trying to curl over on yourself. Alright, I might just end up flipping the adhesive over if it keeps curling on itself. Oh, there we go. Okay, so get that adhesive on there. Just like that. Okay, so there's also some dirt and stuff under here, so I'm going to take that out. Okay, so now what you want to do, let me zoom out, is you want to open up the screen again. All right, again, you don't want to flip the MacBook over, and let this cable fall into the gap. Okay, slowly lift it up, and then you can slide the trackpad over to the side so that the cable will fall through. There we go, and now we got the trackpad out, and the trackpad is really dusty and gross as well, so I am going to clean it off. But the reason you don't want to flip it over is because there's these little metal washers here. Even without flipping it over, you can see these metal washers kind of already are coming out, so you want to be very careful. You don't want to lose these. I'm not really sure what their purpose is, but maybe it's just so Apple knows that you opened it, because probably a lot of people will lose these once they take it out. But anyways, yeah, keep that in mind. These little metal washers, they fall off really easily, so you want to be careful not to lose them. All right, I'm going to clean this up and I'll be back. All right, so I cleaned off the trackpad. All right, and then I also cleaned off the other side, so here you go, much less dusty. Okay, and then also inside I cleaned off this as well. All right, so I was told by other people, because usually what I do is I use this tool and I would scrape underneath. I've been told by some people that you can use dental floss to do this, so I'm gonna see, I'll give that a shot and see how it goes, because hopefully a lot of people will have dental floss, so it might be easier. right? So I'm going to get a piece of dental floss. Let's try this. If it doesn't work, I'm just going to go back to using my tool, but this might help some people. I don't know how people get dental floss in here. We'll try. Okay, I guess, yeah, see, I don't know. To me, this is more difficult. I guess I can use this tool to help start it, getting it underneath. I don't know. See, I don't know how people do this with dental floss. Maybe they need to make a video and show it, but let's try. Okay, I got it partially under. It seems kind of more tricky to me, but let's see. It might be better. Okay, we got the dental floss under there. And I guess we can kind of like wiggle this to go. I don't know, this feels like it's gonna slice my fingers off. I mean, I guess if you work at it long and hard enough, it'll work, but I don't know, this seems more difficult to me. Yeah, nope, I'm not gonna do that. All right, well, we're gonna go ahead and use this tool. You can probably do it with floss. I don't know. If you want, you're welcome to try it, but I'm gonna use my usual methods. This isn't a knife, it's not sharp, okay? So it's not easy to puncture this. I'd have to like really try. But anyways, I unintentionally actually put a bend in this by prying stuff open. So what happens is, because it's curved like this, I have to make sure not to use the tool when it's curved that way. I have to make sure it goes down. So that way it kind of helps. Actually, it's more like it's scraping under there. So I get this tool underneath, okay? And then I just push the tool under the battery pack or battery cell, right? And we'll just go all the way the length of this. Okay, you can see how much easier this is. If I use floss, it's so much more work. Why would I want to do that? All right, there we go. So this pack is out. Now we're gonna go over sideways and get this side out. Okay, just like this. Okay, there we go. This side is out. So we got those two. We're gonna flip it over and we're gonna do the same thing with this side. Okay, just slide the tool underneath. Again, you don't want to use a knife. This tool is very flexible and it allows it to bend under the battery. If you use like a knife that's very stiff, then what's going to happen is the knife will just stay pointed like this and it's very hard to scrape under, and it will most likely cut into the battery and you can risk getting starting a fire. So be very careful with that. Okay, here we go. Got that one out. Same thing, we're going this way. Okay, and I'm left-handed right now. I'm using my right hand, so it's making it more difficult. I'm gonna flip it over. Okay, I guess we can work on it this way. There we go. But you want to be careful where you grab the computer. You don't want to like be putting pressure or touching all the insides while you're doing this. So I kind of just hold my hand on the back here, okay? Just like that, and then keep going down, and there we go. So we cut all of that out. All right, so this part might be a little tricky. There is a gap up here, and then there's like a gap here, but there's not much room to get the tool in. So this can be a little tricky. What you can do, let's see here, is you can go in from this side. If your tool, oh, be careful because these battery packs are like flopping down. But what you can do, if your tool is thin enough, is you can go ahead and go in from this side like this. Okay, and then you can do that. So if you have a thin enough like pry tool or cutting tool, you can go ahead and do this. So you can see, all right, just like that, and you see it goes all the way to there. Sorry, my head's getting in the way, but this tool is a little bit too big, so I can't go completely, but we'll just do the parts that we can. Okay, and then hopefully that will give us enough room that we can rotate it and then get in from the other side. So there we go. Okay, so this one we can go this way because this one is larger. Okay, there we go. And then we can see if we can flip it over. So we were cutting under this, and then we can kind of see if we can get under there. Okay, so now we can get underneath here, and then we can go ahead and just pry this. Again, make sure the tool is facing the right way. Since mine has that little bend in it, I have to be careful. Okay, but there we go. You can see we can cut underneath the whole battery now. Okay, there we go. So now we got this whole piece out there. We're going to go under this side as well. It looks like this side you can kind of pry under easier. The adhesive from that trackpad thing was peeling this up, so you can see it's coming out. But anyways, we're going to do this. And what you can do also is keep the thing open so you can see, make sure that oops, let me show you here. When you get the tool in, you want to make sure you're not prying into there, okay? So we're going to go ahead and go again this way. Oops. Okay, get underneath, and we're just going to pry this up. Alright. I think the tool's actually going into the little hole, so I need to open this and make sure that I'm not going to be scraping where the screen is. Okay, that looks okay. Oops. Go along here. Almost done. Okay, so now we got all of that out. Okay, the problem is they tuck part of this underneath the motherboard here, so you can't just lift this whole thing out. As you can see here, this part extends over here, and then it goes underneath the board here and underneath here. And this cable is also slightly in the way, so we are going to disconnect this. Okay, so just pull up on that. Be careful not to yank it out. All right, so that cable there. And now what we're going to do, we're going to have to take out the motherboard screws so we can lift the board up at least partially, so that we can clear this raised metal lip here. Okay, so I'm going to be taking out most of the screws for the motherboard. Again, the tricky part is making sure you get all the screws back in order, and the way I do that is I just put them in the pattern on my desk. Okay, so let's get the screwdriver for this. I believe some are T3 and some are T5, so let's go ahead and try removing some of this. That's a T5. Okay, that's a T3. So we're going to go ahead and just remove all the board screws, at least the easier to see ones. Okay, so there's one up here. We're not going to, unless I have to, I'm not going to remove the whole motherboard or the logic board. Okay, then we got one screw down there. Okay, this screw is a T3 screw. I think that's also a T3 screw, so we're going to remove this one as well. Okay. Move this one up here. Okay, there's one over here. And then we got one here holding in the wireless antennas. And we got one over here next to the other fan. Okay. And I believe that's all the T5 screws that we need to remove. All these connectors, we should be able to leave them in place unless we have to take the whole motherboard out. So now let's switch over to the T3 or the Torx 3 screwdriver. Okay, and we'll remove these two little screws. All right. Okay, so now that we got all those screws out, let's see if we can lift the board just enough to slide that out. Okay, so here you can see we can kind of lift the board up. But let me see what I can use to get underneath. So right now you can see we can the board is moving around. We can kind of lift it up here. So if we do this way, let me see if there's other screws holding it down. I think those were all the screws holding that down. So yeah, so we can lift this up slightly. So what I'm gonna do, let's see if we can do this, is we lift this up slightly, just enough to slide these connectors out from underneath, okay? All right, so I'm holding up the board here, and what I'm doing is, let's grab this battery. Here you can see the cable here, okay? And as you can see, it's underneath this piece. We're gonna try and flip that forward to pull that out. So it would help if we had a little tool to just kind of keep this raised up here. I don't know if we have anything like that. You can use like a piece of cardboard, but I'm gonna see if I can just pull this out, okay? So here you can see I lifted it up, and this cable on this side is slightly coming up. I'm gonna go ahead on this side as well. The problem is it goes underneath this, okay? And you wanna be careful here because you don't wanna put this down too far. I might end up just taking the whole thing out just to make it easier, but let's see. Okay, this cable actually goes underneath this cable, so it's not a big deal, okay? So here you can see we got this side of the thing out. I'm gonna continue lifting and pulling it out. Okay, so Apple purposely designed this in a way to make it more difficult, but here you can see, just slowly get this thing lifted. Okay, and it's coming out. There we go. And now we have the battery out, okay? So here you see we got the battery out. It has this cable under here. I don't know why Apple did this dumb design to purposely make it difficult. They could have just put the wire towards the center here and then had it all in one piece. But this one they decided to make it difficult. All right, so we're gonna set the battery aside. You wanna be careful with this because you don't want it to get damaged and then cause a fire, okay? And then we're gonna have to try and get all this old adhesive out if we can. All right, again, we didn't have to actually disconnect this cable, so I'm gonna snap that back into place. Just get it lined up. There's some dust on there, so let me clean that off. Okay. And the way you line this up, you can look from the side and just make sure it goes in place. Okay, check both sides and push it down. There we go. All right, so that cable's back in place. Get this dust out. Okay. So now what I'm gonna do, I have this plastic razor blade scraping tool. We'll see if this will get these adhesive things out. Hopefully it will. So let's see, on some models you can scrape it slightly, and once you get enough of it out you can actually peel it, and it looks like this is one of those models, so that's nice. So we can actually peel off all this old adhesive, okay? So a tool like this kind of helps with that. You can also use like your fingernails to kind of scrape it and get started, and then just peel it off just like that, okay? Just like that, underneath, and peel this off. Okay, and we'll just continue going, scraping these up and peeling them off. All right, just like that. Some kits, they tell you to use some liquid to do adhesive removal, but as you can see, it's not needed. You just do that and scrape those off, no problem. Okay. Sometimes the adhesive will leave some residue, and to get that out, we're just going to use some isopropyl rubbing alcohol. So I'll show you that in a bit. But we're just going to get this all out. Okay. Rotate that so it's easier to work on. Okay, get all this adhesive out. Just gotta lift a corner. There we go. Peel that off. Scrape this one up. Alright, and just keep continuing. If you want, you can fast forward through all of this, because once you get one, you can figure it out, but I kind of just want to record it to show how much time it goes into actually doing this kind of stuff. Alright. Let's peel this one first. Go. There we go. Peel it up. Alright, let's rotate this. We're getting there. Luckily, this adhesive is easier to peel off than other models of the MacBooks. Some of the models of MacBooks, you go to peel this stuff up and it just rips to shreds, so you can't really peel it all in one piece like this. And then it leaves the residue everywhere. It's so much worse. But as you can see, this one is a lot nicer. Okay. Just like that. Alright, last piece, and then we're going to clean up the residue. Okay, I don't know if you can see it in the camera, but there's like, oh yeah, you can. There's some slight residue there from the adhesive. So what I do is I take some paper towels, okay, and I just fold it up like this. Get some rubbing alcohol or isopropyl alcohol, and I'll just spray it on there. And wherever you see the residue, just go to town on it. Just keep rubbing it. Sometimes the adhesive is very difficult to remove. It depends how thick of a layer of the adhesive residue is there. But just keep rubbing at it and you'll eventually get it all out. If you want, you can like scrape at it a little bit with a tool. You can use the metal tool or the plastic razor blade, try and scrape it to thin it out, and then when you go back to kind of clean it, it's a little bit easier. So here we go, just a tiny bit more there. And it doesn't need to be 100% perfect, but the better you get it, then the better the replacement one will stick down. Some people wouldn't want to even stick down the battery, because then next time if you need to replace the battery, it's a lot easier. So if anything, you actually don't even have to clean off all this residue, but to get it up to where Apple does it, then yeah, you want to clean this all off and stick it down. Alright, some of this adhesive doesn't really want to come off, so I might just leave it there. Yeah, it's not even really scraping around much, so Let me try and scrape it up to make it easier to remove. Okay. There we go. Alright, let's put more rubbing alcohol on there and continue cleaning. Alright. Okay, most of it's gone. Some of it's like really difficult to remove, so I might end up just leaving those parts. But just clean it nicely. Okay. And also sometimes it helps to kind of like put a lot on a piece of paper and then just leave it soaking on there. But again, it's not too important that you get all the residue off, so don't worry too much. As long as you get most of it out, you should be okay. Okay. Okay, those bits aren't really coming out, so we're gonna leave that. Alright, so let's get this opened back up a little bit. I'm gonna clean off the screen a little because it's kind of dusty and greasy, but alright. Okay, and when you clean the screen, make sure that it's not whatever you're cleaning it with isn't going to drip and leak on everything, because that can damage the computer. All right, so we're going to get the replacement battery now. Okay. So the replacement battery looks like this. Okay. And then what's going to happen is we have to tuck this back underneath. The only thing with that is because it has these little tabs on it, it's going to make it a little tricky. So what I like to do, I'm actually going to turn this tab around, okay, this way. Alright, make sure it's not leaving any sticky area exposed too much. Okay, so you'll see why in a bit, why I'm doing this. Okay. And then this is fine, but these ones that are pointing inward, I'm going to turn them around as well so that they point sideways. Okay, so there we go. Again, make sure this metal tab is up and out of the way. You don't want it to accidentally touch on the battery while you're doing this, because then that can cause issues. So here you can see we have this. We're gonna basically just tuck that underneath. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. Lift the board up slightly, okay, and then tuck those metal pieces under. You might have to tip the battery forward slightly, okay. Just like that. Okay. All right, once we get that, let's go over to this side. Same thing. Underneath here. All right. The hardest part is just making sure to lift up this high enough, okay? But you don't want to yank on it too hard that you rip the board out and damage it. Okay, there we go. And now we're gonna tuck this side underneath as well. There we go. Just like this. Okay, so there you go. As you can see, now we have the battery dropped into place. And what you're gonna wanna do is get these screws lined up first. Those tiny screws that we took out. Okay. And let me double check. All right, so we're gonna take that and that was using the pentalobe or P2 screwdriver. So we're going to switch to the pentalobe or P2 screwdriver. Okay, and we're going to just get this seated into place first. Okay, this can be a little tricky. I'm going to have to look over the top to do it because, okay, good, my head didn't get in the view. So there we go. Get the second one down in place. Okay, and then I like to make sure that these golden rings are kind of equally around so that the screw is centered in them. Okay, so you kind of like loosen the screw, make sure to pull it into place, and then tighten it down just like that. And same thing with the other side. Might have to kind of loosen the other one to make sure you can align both of them. And there we go. Okay, and the last one. There we go. All right, so we got those screws into place. Now we're done with the pentalobe 0.8 or P2 screwdriver. We're going to switch back to the T3, the Torx 3 screwdriver. And let's put in the little screws here that we took out. Okay, oops, let me zoom out. Okay, we're going to put back these screws. Make sure everything is lined up. Okay, that one and this one here. Oops. There we go. Get that all lined up. All right, so let's put back the rest of the screws, all the T5 screws. Right, Torx 5. Okay, put that screw in. This screw in. Again, hopefully you didn't mix them up. This screw is slightly longer than the rest, or so it seems. Okay, there we go. And put the wireless antenna screw in. Put the other screw up here in. Then we'll put the last screw over here. I got a customer that says they're coming right now. I need to respond to that soon, but I'm already almost done with this, so I'm going to finish this up first. Okay, so you can see now the battery's all in place. So now what we're going to do, the reason I turned those tabs around, of course, now we can actually reach under here without ripping this whole thing up. You can grab that tab and you can peel this off. All right, and we can grab the other tab and peel that off as well. Right, so we got those out. Then you can press that down, drop it into place, okay, and then you can push this down. Right, then you got the other two, of course, same thing, just lift up these battery packs, peel these things out. All right, drop it down. Oh, and you can press it into place, okay, just like that. Same thing with the last side, pull it up, peel those things off, and then we can drop it down and push it into place. All right, and there we go. We got the battery installed. Now that you got all of that in, you can peel off this. This thing is just there to kind of hold it in place. The best way to peel it is to peel it back so it rolls off, not up like this. So you want to just peel it rolling the whole thing off like this, okay? There we go. So now we got the battery installed. Of course, now we're going to have to put the trackpad in. Okay, so take the trackpad, open up the screen. Okay, lay the trackpad down in place, pull up the cable, let it go through. Oops, I do see like those little washers kind of were falling off. So you want to check, make sure you get all the washers back into place. Whoa, wait, a lot of them disappeared. Where'd they go? Huh. a lot of these little washers disappeared. So there's supposed to be a circle washer on each one. I think 2 are missing. I'm gonna go see if I can find these missing washers. I don't know where they are. For now, I'm gonna put one on this outside here and one on this outside here. All right, so I don't know where all those washers went, but anyways, I'm gonna go look for those and I'll be back. All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. So 2 of these actually fell where I was just cleaning, brushing off the dust. And then one, just by simply putting it down, was enough, like even lightly, because the metal parts here kind of bounce. It was enough to pop that little thing and it just fell out. And the way I find them is, well, I was looking and I could actually see them. But what I do is I use a big magnet like this and I just rub it over, and here you can see I can pick them up. So good thing I was able to find those. I did have a spare one, so worst case I could have just pulled the little washers from there. But here you go, we got all these little washers back on. All right, got those, and I have to put this middle one back on. Okay, so last one here. It's kind of a little tricky to put them back on, just to get them lined up. All right, there we go. So we got all of those. Again, you want to be careful. Even just setting this down can be enough to pop those little washers off. So I'm going to lift this up. Okay, very gently drop the trackpad down into place. Okay. All right, sorry if my head gets in the way. I'm trying to make sure the little washers are still there. Okay. All right, we're going to put this cable back up through here. Slowly let the screen drop. You want to make sure to keep your hand there just to make sure that it's dropping and lining up properly. See here, you can see it's slightly misaligned because you don't want to drop the screen on top. If you want, you can actually, while holding this, you can raise the trackpad up to it. Okay, just like this. All right. And there we go. And then hold the trackpad into place. Again, we need to use the T5 or Torx 5 screwdriver. And I'm going to actually take the middle one first. All right. And we'll put this middle screw in first. Just loosely fitting. Okay, I'll show you why in a bit. Then we'll take the other screw here. Okay, we're going to put it up in this corner. See, it's not even aligned, so there we go. Okay, and again, we're just putting these screws loosely fitting. We're not tightening them down all the way. Okay. All right, so now that you got the middle one and the 2 upper corners, you can let the screen go down. And we're going to put the rest of the screws, again, just loosely fitted. You don't want to tighten them all the way down because we are going to have to flip the MacBook over and align the screws, okay? Or align the trackpad. All right, so just like this. Get all these little screws and just loosely fit them. And you want to put in all these screws because if you don't, the little washers might fall out, and these screws will help hold them in place. Okay. And you're going to need 2 pieces of tape for this. All right. If you want, you can use more or larger pieces of tape. Okay, so now that we got all those screws in, what we're going to do, we're going to flip this over. Okay, you want to be careful with what you touch underneath the MacBook while you're doing this because you don't want to accidentally damage anything. But what we're going to do is we're going to have to center the trackpad here. Okay, so I'm flipping it over this way. So as you can see, the trackpad can actually move left and right, and you can see like a big gap on one side versus the other. So we're going to have to align this and then put some tape to hold it into place. I'm going to be probably having my head in the way because I need to look over the top to make sure I'm getting it perfectly centered. Okay. All right. So once it looks like it's aligned as well as you can get it, get a piece of tape and put that down. Okay, and these tapes I wrap over a piece of the tape so you can see it makes a tab like that. All right, and that way if I need, I could easily pull it back off. All right, sorry, my head's gonna be in the way again. Okay, there we go. Tape that back on. All right, so now I'm gonna just examine it. Does look like it's slightly low, like this top part has more of a gap, so I'm gonna peel this back up. I'm gonna try and slide that upwards if I can. Okay. This side has gone too much. So if you don't really care that it's centered, then you don't need to put so much effort into aligning it like how I'm doing it. But yeah, it bugs me if it's like uncentered. So here you can see, now you can see that the black shadow line is evenly around the entire trackpad. So that's good. We're gonna close this up, flip it over. Okay, tighten the middle screw first. All right, and then we're gonna go ahead and tighten the corner up here, corner down here, corner up here, the corner down here. All right, then we're gonna flip it back over again and double check. I didn't drop this down straight, it's kind of crooked, but it should be okay. All right, I'm gonna flip this back over. Check the trackpad, looks good. All right, looks good. We can peel the tape off. All right, close this back up and we'll tighten back the rest of the screws. Okay. You can double check the corner ones as well. Okay, just like this. Yeah, and then sadly, because this is crooked and the adhesive is already down, I don't want to risk scraping it back up because it can cause damage to the battery, so we're going to leave it as is. But it shouldn't affect performance or anything. It's more just if you open it and look inside, it doesn't look as nice. But anyways, we'll tighten back all the batteries, or the screws. Alright, and there we go. Also, if your battery isn't working after replacing all of this stuff, it could be that this board needs to be shifted to the left or right because the contact points under here might not be making proper contact. Also check that this tab isn't like bending up or down anyway. Alright, so now we're going to just plug the trackpad connector back in. Okay, make sure you get it lined up right. It's easiest to look from the side here to get it lined up and then push it down. There we go. We'll take this little cover, put that back on. All right, I think these were T3 screws. Yep. So we'll switch back to the Torx 3 screwdriver. Okay. We'll put that screw in. Go and loosely fit the screw at first because we are going to have to put the second screw in as well, so that will help you, allow you to align it. All right, just like that. Then we'll just tighten this down. We'll tighten that down. There we go. So we got that all aligned. We're gonna reattach this battery cable and also this. So first, we got to put the screw here, which is the using the T5 or Torx 5 screwdriver. Okay, we're going to bend this metal tab back down, get the screw in, tighten it down. All right, and if you mess up either this or that other cable, the MacBook won't turn on. So just keep that in mind. Both of these are required for the battery to work properly. Make sure you pop up this little latch here on this one. I'm going to zoom in again to make it easier to see. Okay. just like that. Oops. Okay. And when you put this back, just know the squiggly end, the shorter part is to the left, and then this longer side goes to the right, or towards this side. Okay. I'm going to hold this little plastic flap out of the way. This part is a little bit tricky, but you get the idea. You can kind of bend the flap back a little if you want. And my hand's probably going to be in the way for you to see this, but hopefully you get the idea. Just get it back in that slot. Okay, I might have to do it this way. There we go. Make sure to get it completely into that slot. Right? Some of the gold will be visible when it's in the slot, so keep that in mind. Don't try and force it. If you crease this cable, you can damage it, so be very careful. Right, there you go. If you want, you can use the plastic tab to help pull it over, and then just slide your finger over the latch to lock it into place. If you take a look, you can see there's part of the gold pins sticking up there. That's normal. Okay. And then you can test, like, pull on it lightly to see it should hold itself in place. Put that little tab back down. And we're going to go ahead and go on this side. Right, same thing. Get that cable in. Push that in. You can see part of the gold pins stick out. That's normal. Slide your finger over the latch, lock it down, push this tab back on top. And then make sure to get this plastic little cover and put that on. All right, just line that up. I like to line up the edges with the adhesive and then just roll it over the top and then just push it down. All right, there we go. And that's the battery installed. Now we just got to put the metal cover back on. If you want, for testing, you don't have to slide it back on yet. You can just kind of snap this on like this, so just line it up. So for testing, you can just line it up and push those two side clips back in. But of course, we're gonna have to fix the sliding latch here after we confirm everything looks good. All right, so we got that. Oops, zoomed out way too far. Okay, now we can power this back on. If the trackpad doesn't click after you push the power button, you most likely have to just plug the MacBook in first. So right now it's not turning on. We are going to have to plug the MacBook in. All right, so let's get the MacBook charger. Right, plug the cable in. And then it should allow you to turn it back on. Okay, I feel the trackpad moving. It's a good sign. I don't know if you can hear it clicking. There you go, and it turned itself on. So we did good, it's on, everything looks good. Assuming the battery is good, then it should be ready to go. I'm gonna throw away all this trash now. Okay. If you want, you can use this little sticky plastic thing to put on the old battery and then set the old battery aside. Okay. Jeez. Okay. So I'm gonna get the old battery and we're gonna flip it over onto here. That's the old battery. Okay. We're gonna just take this and stick it back down on top. And that will keep the battery all together. Okay. So there we go. The MacBook is on, you can see. Oops. Okay, MacBook is on, as you can see. We're gonna shut this down. It's always a good idea to do a PRAM and SMC reset. So what you do is for SMC reset, make sure to shut down the Mac first, or you can have it on. The one way I'm gonna see if I can test to make sure that SMC reset works on this, because I'm not sure if it works on these newer models. What I'm gonna do, press the power button, hold the option key. All right, we'll wait for that to boot up. Okay, so when you hold the option key, as you can see, it's staying on this boot menu here. So what you do for SMC reset is Control Option Shift on the left side, and then the power button. It should shut itself off right away, but as you can see, it's not doing it. So I guess the SMC reset is disabled on this, or maybe there's a special way to do it on these newer Macs. Because normally when you do that, the Mac should turn itself off. So anyways, we're going to do the PRAM reset now. So to do that, you press the power button and then Command Option P and R. Just press and hold those. Wait till the Mac starts up. There you go. And it should restart itself. And there you go. And then let go. And it should start itself back up again without touching anything. All right. Come on. It's taking a while. I don't know if they combine the SMC and PRAM reset on these newer models or not. Oh, nope, see, it started itself. Okay, so that's what it's supposed to do, and we did that right. So now all we're gonna do now is put back the cover properly, and we should be good to go. All right, so I'm gonna close up the screen. I'm gonna flip this back over. I'll leave this plugged in so it can charge a little bit more, but basically, let's pop the cover back off. All right, just pop it up just like before. All right. Okay, and then when you go to pop the cover in, so the thing is still shutting down, but what you want to do is you start it slightly further back, okay, and then make sure that these sides here lined up are aligned with the shell. It's slightly over to one side. You want to make sure to try and get it evenly, okay, and then while you're pressing down here, slide it up. You might have to do one side first, like if I'm trying to do both like that, it's difficult. So what I do is I use my finger on the back here and push that to slide it, and then I go over to this side, push this down, slide that, and then go again and double check. And then once you make sure both sides back here are lined up and the edges here are lined up, then you can snap this back down, snap the middle back down, and then put back the rest of the screws, the pentalobe 1.2 or P5 screws. All right. And that's all there is to this. So hopefully this video helped you guys. If it did, please like and subscribe, help others find my videos. Thank you for watching, and hope to see you in the next one. All right, you can stay till I finish putting back the screws, but that's pretty much all there is. All right. Alright, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys later. Bye.